but the first CD we sold was to somebody in Australia.
Okay.
And
you might have felt like you must have felt like you made it.
Well, yeah, we're worldwide, baby.
Yeah, exactly.
Like nobody knows us locally, but we're worldwide, right?
What is going on, guys? Welcome to Bearded Discussion Podcast, the show that talks about what it means to be a man in the 21st century. I'm your host, Simon Binkowski, a self-proclaimed fitness fanatic, and I'm on a journey to challenge stereotypes about men. Every week, me and my guests will bring you amazing conversations about masculinity, relationships, fitness, sex, and many more. Now, let's jump into the show. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Bearded Discussion Podcast. Today with me, I have Half Decent. How you doing, man?
Very good, thank you, Simon. Very good. Yourself?
I'm great. Thank you very much for asking. Again, thank you for coming on to the show. What I wanted to discuss today is a very trendy topic, especially during the lockdown and everything being closed and people having more time to really think about what they want to do in life and things they want to do in general. And I wanted to talk about just like starting out in 2020 when it comes to artists, creators, just creative people. And I wanted to ask you, because you've been on this long journey as an artist for quite a while. It's been like 15 plus years, right? Am I right?
Feels like forever, but yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So you've seen the changing landscape and things come and go. And I wanted to ask you, from your perspective, obviously, how different is starting out right now in 2020 as compared to 15 plus years ago?
Yeah, so I can kind of talk from it's I don't know what it's like starting out now, because I'm not starting now, and I think that's the one thing that is like it's easy to look and go, like, without sounding 50, like these kids have it easier. Yeah. Because I don't actually know. I don't really know. Like, I'm sure they have their own struggles. The reality of making music, I believe, is so much easier now. To make music, it is so much easier now. Every computer, especially like if you buy a Mac, it comes with GarageBand, right? So you instantly have something that you can create music with.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, you don't need to learn how to play an instrument. You need to learn the software, but that's fine. That you can learn that, and you can learn that with YouTube videos. You don't need to pay for a tutor. You can, but you don't have to. And you'll get somewhere quicker. You'll get the results you want a lot quicker. It can speed up the creative process or the learning process. If I wanted to learn how to play an instrument, I actually remember doing this. I paid for 30 guitar lessons with a guy who was probably 2 years older than me at the time. I was 15, he was 17. I paid for 30 guitar lessons all outright with money I just got from my first ever job.
Yeah.
And the shop that he worked at shut down after I had 4 lessons. And then I couldn't claim the rest of my lessons. And it was like, well, and I was trying to learn guitar, and I always thought that was how you learned guitar, because YouTube, I couldn't have just gone on YouTube and said, learn guitar and learn from that. And learning from a book is incredibly hard with an instrument, because you're trying to play it, you're trying to feel it, you're trying to hear it.
Yeah.
So even just learning stuff is now, I don't think there's a problem that exists that hasn't had somebody go on YouTube and upload a video of how to solve that problem, especially if it's something related to music.
I mean, it's the second biggest search engine apart from Google. Google is number one, but yeah, like exactly what you're saying. it's almost what you referred to earlier. It's easier to create something right now, whether it's music, whether it's videos for YouTube or anything else, any kind of art. It's easier to do it nowadays, but to create it. But then at the same time, it's harder to push through that barrier of there's so much stuff out there, and you know, trying to get through it is really hard.
It's like I grew up in Oxford, and that was where I started making music. And I was lucky enough that Oxford actually had a music scene that was quite thriving at the time. And I'm not just talking about a music scene that created people like Supergrass, Radiohead, and Foals. There was a hip hop scene there where there was this promotion called Beats and Rhymes. I used to help them with pretty much anything, like putting up posters, booking acts, like helping on the door, whatever I could physically do to get into that scene, because that was what I cared about. And that was where I knew I could one day put my music out there.
Yeah.
And it was being part of that scene helped me get to my first batch of fans. It helped me get to my first batch of understanding of how gigs worked, how promotions worked, how to treat an artist if you book them and things like that. And all of that sort of stuff came because I went out and tried to learn it. Yeah. Right now, like I think the difference is you don't have to do it locally. And that's where it becomes a small stream or pond to being a wide ocean. And right now, if I make a song and upload it, my competitor is not the local rapper that I might have to try and be better than to get on a promotion to be in front of an audience.
It's anyone in the world, really.
Yeah, my local competition is Jay-Z. My local competition is like, all right, I'm in Croydon now, so Stormzy is technically local competition.
Yeah.
But it's if we were going back 15, 20 years ago, that competition is so much smaller, and the scene has to work together. And then some people make it, some people don't. Some people will be the more popular. Some people will always be in the middle. But it's so much harder with that, and you thrive from it and learn with it if you're passionate about what you're doing. But right now, if you're passionate about anything, you can learn about it instantly. So you've got a massive head start, but you have to compete with everybody. There's like no choice. Your music has to sound as good as the new Kanye West album. If that sounds good, I actually haven't heard it. Yeah. Or it has to be on that level where it's mastered and mixed at the same level as a actual release. There's no such thing as demos anymore. There's no such thing as that sort of like, all right, here's a rough take and I'll fix it up later. Everything everyone hears has to be polished and has to be brilliant.
Yeah.
So,
but then that sort of what you just said, to in a way play like a devil's advocate, is you have so much competition, but because of that, it pushes you to be even better. I'm not saying that back in the day you didn't have any competition, because you obviously did. It was still hard to either get a deal or even make a song, much harder than it is nowadays, or create anything. But also because, like I said, because there is so much competition, and when you create something and you get it out there, you're not competing just locally, you're competing with anyone in the world that creates anything similar to it. That can also, to some people, that can be that can be like a final nail in the coffin. They won't be able to go past that. But in a lot of people, that will spark up some sort of a fire, and you will just feed off of that competition, and you'll be more sort of motivated to do even better. If you create something and you think, wow, this is the best thing that I've ever done. No, because someone in Australia might have done it better or cheaper or just something. And because you have that competition, you're then able, okay, let me figure it out. How do I do this? How do I do that? Can I approach it differently? And
Yeah, it's a really tough one because like even I think if I look at where I was when I started making music,
Yeah.
I've always been someone that I don't always want to be like the bigger artist. The first hip hop I listened to, I think I borrowed my sister's Tupac CDs, and it was like that was the sort of stuff that first got me into hip hop really. And then when I saw Eminem live, it was like the first actual live show I ever went to, and it was 16,000 people rapping along to one person and a DJ. It was like, and it's like that to me was a whole other side of music that I still hadn't really, I was into and I was interested in, and I had a terrible singing voice. So I started rapping, but it wasn't until I saw that I was like, oh, maybe I should try and do that.
Yeah.
But I think that the biggest problem is you always look at that highest tier person. Like you always look at it and go, yeah, it'd be great to release an album a year and be as incredible as Prince was. Or maybe Michael Jackson was your influence growing up. Or maybe you get into podcasts because you want to be like Joe Rogan, or you want to, when you look at fitness, you look at, maybe you want to be as strong as The Rock, It's easy to look at those because we see them everywhere, and that's what we're looking at. But really, they're like the 1% of successful of their business. Like, obviously, like Arnold Schwarzenegger as an example, being a bodybuilder, and it's like, yeah, that's amazing, but he is still the 1%, and it's trying to achieve to be that 1%. I don't know. You can achieve to it, but I think you're going to set yourself up for failure a lot quicker if that's what you're trying to achieve to be. So I've always kind of reached for, in like people like Immortal Technique, people like Tone Deaf, people like Tech9. They're the kind of thing that I see myself of like, I want to be able to release music regularly. I want to be able to create regularly. I want to be able to do this for as long as I want to do this, and not worry too much about performing in front of 16,000 people and them all liking what I like, being there for one thing. It's harder to have that.
That's true what you're saying, but then I would say that it is good to compare yourself to people like, I don't know, for example, Joe Rogan, The Rock, and 50 Cent, Eminem, because obviously you're not going to be like them because you're not them, but you can draw inspiration from that, and based on that experience, I mean, you can compare yourself to the average Joe and not Joe Rogan, but at a certain point you will surpass that, and then it's easy to get into that mode of, oh, I'm really good, or I'm doing this well, I'm doing that well, but
you've got to believe in yourself.
Exactly. But
you have to.
There is always going to be someone that's going to be better than you, stronger than you, and whatever it is. But it has to be with a healthy dose. But it is good, in my opinion, to compare yourself to the best. That's always your benchmark, and whether you achieve it or not, you can always strive towards it.
I think so I was kind of addressing the way that you were saying, like, does it come across as is it harder to do, or is it tough to get there, or is it kind of demoralizing in that sense? I think that kind of going back to what I said about people being able to learn anything instantly, if you want to be the best, learn from the best.
Yeah.
But that's what you have to take from it. You have to learn from the mistakes of others so that you don't make them, and you can achieve that. If you ever get an opportunity to speak to whoever your hero is, or you hear your hero speak and they're the person you want to achieve to be, you should listen to that and learn from it and see how it achieves, how it fits for your life. Obviously we can't be anyone other than who we are. But the kind of 1% that I was alluding to is more that I don't go into it. That's not why I do it. I don't wake up and go, I have to be in that 1%. And that may be good or bad. I may be setting myself up for my own demise there, but that's where everybody's level of success is going to be different. And I've always kind of said, if I set up a shop tomorrow, or if anybody owns a shop and it's a bookshop, and they have sold books for 50 years, their dad owned it and his dad owned it, and you are about to pass it on to your son, and it has lasted in the family nearly 100 years now, and that has always put food on the table and always meant that everybody has a job, there's success, etc., etc. You are not unsuccessful because you are not Amazon, because Amazon are the highest selling bookshop in the world.
Yeah, that is true. I see your point.
That's what I'm saying. Is like you need to become that before you can become the greatest anyway. So it's like, learn from what you're trying to do. And let's use The Rock as an example. If you grew up wanting to be The Rock, you wanted to be a wrestler, depending on when you grew up. Yeah. But anyone who wants to be what The Rock is now probably won't say, I'm going to go to wrestling school, or I'm going to play college football, which is what
they might not even know that he was a wrestler.
Exactly. Like, a lot of people don't know Ice Cube raps. It's like they could look at Ice Cube and go, I want to be an actor. It's like, well, they got there through their own journey. You need to get there through your own journey as well. Yeah. And I don't think you can do that if you look at where someone is at their absolute best. Yeah. You can learn from their mistakes, but you have to go along that own journey as well.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. So let me ask you, as somebody who has been, moving up or going through the ranks in the music industry.
You're the first person to say it. So
why?
Thank you. They usually say it's like, you're going backwards, you haven't released music in a while, what are you doing?
Nah, like, as a person that has been going through the ranks in the music industry and seen a lot of things, I'm sure, I wanted to ask you, do you think it's easier for a man to find that initial success as compared to a female?
The music industry is definitely it definitely had a bad rap over the last few years in particular. Mm-hmm. You look just for festival lineups. A big thing that happened the last couple of years is people would get the festival lineups and then remove all the male acts and all the male leading acts there, and there'd be like 20 people on a lineup of 200. Yeah. And when you look at it in terms of headliners, there's probably not a great deal of headlining acts that are female at the moment that fit into even most categories. You can name a few, like, Beyonce is probably one of the biggest like people in the world. You can do whatever she wants pretty much. But again, that's the 1%. I think that for me, it's been a struggle anyway. And I don't know if that's easier or harder because of my gender. There have been lineups I've been turned down because they're women only lineups. But I'm sure that women have been turned down from lineups because there's already a woman on the lineup. And they're going, oh no, we've already got one woman, we don't need two. Yeah. And I've had the same thing as well, just by people saying, no, we already have one rap act at our festival on that day, so we're not going to have a second one. We want bands, or we want tribute acts, and we want one tribute act, one band, one kind of rock act, and it's.
But
I think that there's struggles all over in regards to that. I can only imagine it has to be harder, because you fit into less categories. If you're a female rapper. And just trying to compare that to if I were female and I was a female rapper producer, I could imagine I'd be turned down on more bills than I've done because of that.
I see your point, but if we take the music or rap genre specifically as an example, don't you think that is beginning to shift or change? I mean, I know that I'm only speaking based on examples that I see on TV or internet. You know, you have rappers like Cardi B and Nicki Minaj, who's a veteran, but Megan Thee Stallion and Snow the Product, great underground rapper, and you know, you in the past few years you have had a much bigger influx of female artists.
I think we can just see them now. Like with anything, you can see more quickly. Like, you know, you can go onto YouTube and type in, you know, female rapper, and you'll find loads. It's probably all you'll find.
Yeah.
And there will be people looking for that. The same way there will be people looking for, you know, conscious hip hop, or, you know, chilled out hip hop, and, you know, dance hip hop, whatever you want, people will find it. I think that it's easier to get it out there if you want to get it out there, but I don't know if that means it's easier in the industry for females or males.
That's fair. Yeah.
Even just right now, I don't know any. I know a lot of female rappers. Probably, I know more female rappers that are still at it than I do male rappers. A lot of the male rappers that started the same time as me have quit by now. They've gone, no, this isn't for me. But a lot of the female rappers are still going. I don't know any female producers anymore. Like as of today, I think I know, not in hip hop specifically. So I don't know any female producers. I don't know any. I know about 2 or 3 female promoters promoting good hip hop stuff, like throughout the country. But yeah, you could probably count all of the people in the industry that I know on maybe one hand in each area in terms of producers. And the biggest thing that I do find interesting is that in my music, I always look for singers, and I'm always after singers, male or female. And a lot of the times that seems hard to find. It's almost like you can't find a independent female artist that wants to work with you on a song, that is happy to just collaborate, and you get in a room and work on it. And I don't know if that's because it maybe it's an intimidating environment, maybe they've had bad experiences, or maybe it's just how the industry is, and they want to sing, they want to achieve the Beyoncés and all of that stuff, and then maybe they don't want to be associated with rap so much. I think it'd be interesting to ask the same question to a female artist and get their kind of experience of it.
Definitely, yeah.
But I know more males in the industry than I know females, but that's throughout. And I know more female rappers that are still doing it. So it's an interesting one.
That is an interesting point. Yeah, it definitely will be worth to further down the line explore it further with a female point of view. Absolutely. But let me ask you this: if you, knowing what you know and knowing how everything has changed, if you could start again, is there anything that you would do differently and or change or approach differently? I know it's a very sort of introspective question, but with your artistry, with your the stuff that you're creating with your music, is there anything that, or your career itself, is there anything that you would do differently and or change?
Yeah, definitely a couple of things. First of all, the first sale I ever actually got, and this is very weird looking back at it now, because I think this is random that it happened, but the very first sale I ever had of a CD, I was working with a collective of people, and we were all like making music together, and I was producing it and rapping a little bit on it. The first CD we put out went online, and we sold physical copies. Now this is back in the year 2002, maybe 2000. Yeah, it was probably 2003. Internet was not what it is now, but the first CD we sold was to somebody in Australia.
Okay.
And
you might have felt like you must have felt like you made it.
Well, yeah, we're worldwide, baby.
Yeah, exactly.
Like nobody knows us locally, but we're worldwide, right? Shout out to Full Spectrum. He's a rapper. He's still doing his thing now. He was the guy who bought the first one, and he actually he sent us a check. So he posted a check to England, and we had to cash this check, which was weird. So we were like, oh, we've got the money for our CD. It was like £10 or whatever. Yeah. And then when we ended up posting it, it cost more than £10 to post it because it was to Australia. And we didn't care. We were just like, oh, someone wants our music. We'll send it. After that, learned a lot of lessons, but essentially had a lot of fans on MySpace, had a lot of promotion on MySpace, and it's not here anymore. It doesn't exist. And there was an album that we released for sale on MySpace, advertised it to our MySpace fans, and almost instantly got a couple hundred buys straight away. And it was like, right, good. Like this is the sort of stuff you can make a living off of. This is the sort of stuff you can invest back into itself. And then when MySpace went and Facebook existed, it was almost like, where are all those people that we were going to? And I didn't have the smarts enough to realize that investing in somebody else's product, such as MySpace, and making that the core thing would make me further away from reaching the fan base. Mm-hmm. So I think I would have just started a mailing list a lot quicker. I would have pushed it out a lot. I would have sent everybody there so that I could keep those fans, because now they'd be fans for me for 15 years. Yeah. I think that was a mistake, and I think that it's easy to do that in this environment now as well, because places like Spotify and Apple Music are the only places you feel like you can release your music. But really, if they go down tomorrow, what happens to all your fans? And that's why I don't see the people using it as fans. I see them as people that would still listen to the radio. They're music lovers. They like to listen to music. They're willing to pay for a device to listen to music, but they're not fans of my music. So how do I turn them into fans of my music? And how do I get them on my kind of platform or in my mailing list? So that's a very interesting. Yeah. Creatively, I don't think I would hold on to ideas as long as I have. The album I have coming out, some of the songs are like, when I made the beat almost 12 years ago, I said, like, when I have an album, this is going to be the start of the album. And then I would hold on to that. I would release other stuff, and I've had 12, 13 releases since then, but I've still had this idea of that's what the intro to my album sounds like.
Are you one of those artists that have almost like prized possessions when it comes to whether it's a beat or a lyric or a lyric to a whole song or something? Is like, no, this has to be perfect. You know how, like, for example, Dr. Dre is, for like he could create stuff and it has to be perfect the way he thinks perfection is, and if it isn't, let's scrap it. But when you really compare it to anything else that's out there, it's probably better than most of the stuff.
I think you always are going to be your harshest critic, and I am definitely one of my harshest critics, but more so on my lyrics. I go over them quite a lot, and sometimes I even put imperfections in there on purpose, because that's what I believe is part of my style now, or might be good for that song. And I actually like it when people go, oh, you said that word wrong. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Like, if you don't understand why or whatever, it's more sometimes it's wordplay, sometimes it's emotion. Sometimes I'll talk about something where, like, you're not going to be in the right mindset to say the right words. But I think, like, I do hold on to ideas. Sometimes people I've produced for or worked with, they'll say, oh, we like this song. And I'll be like, no, that's my beat. Like, I'm using that for my album, which just never comes out. And then it's, you can get that. But I think that's, they're your babies, right? There's something that you create, and you're going to have a vision for it, and other people are going to listen to it and have a vision for it. But you need to go with what you think is right if you're going to be happy for releasing that. Yeah. I think that getting rid of ideas, I'd like to do that more often, because it doesn't allow me to explore my true creativity sometimes. If I decide to write a song about any topic, let's say I decide to write a song about beards, and it's called The Bearded Discussion. That first time...
Sounds like a hit already.
It sounds like a banger, right?
Yeah.
So the first time I played that, or the first time I write it, I might not nail it. Yeah. I might not do it properly. So I've got to do it again. I've got to do it again and again and again and again. And sometimes if it's a topic that's true to you, you can get it straight away. For me, bearded discussion could be something that takes me 6 years because I don't know what that life is like. So it's dependent on the idea, but sometimes I feel like I've let them sit too long, and I've kind of said, right, this will just pickle here and then get better and better and better.
Yeah.
But really, no song is ever finished, and you just have to be happy with it when you create it. And I think now I want to create it in the moment, finish it as quickly as possible, and then move on to the next idea, even if the next idea is the exact same topic or the exact same song.
Yeah.
But I can then move on, and I think I'll be able to say more as an artist like that.
Okay. Is it during the creative process of doing an album, writing an album, or writing a song, or making a beat, is it hard to come up with ideas, to create something specific? Or when you approach it, do you approach it with a concept first of all, and then okay, let me work around that, let me see what works, what I can put together? Or is it more like, you create a text or create a lyric for a song and then do everything around it?
Yeah, it's a bit of a mixture, especially for me, because I produce kind of like 99% of all my own stuff. It's very rare that I work with other producers, and I produce just for fun. I produce to relieve stress. So I can sit at a computer and sit at my equipment and make a beat that I would rap to and would be in one of my songs like quite easily. It was the one thing that I spent most of my early time like in music working out, was how to produce, how do I get it to sound clear, how can I get it done straight away. And sometimes the beat is just made out of fun, and then I'll start mumbling to it, and I'll get a flow, and I'll get lyrics, and I'll start writing a song. And you can go from, what does this sound angry, does it sound happy, does it sound whatever, and you can go from that. But then other times ideas are just like, they are easy. Like coming up with ideas to me are easy. It's executing those ideas to be what you want them to be. So I have every single day, I just have lyrics and phrases that I write down, and it might be something as simple as like, who stole the money? Like it could be something like that just comes into my head, and I'll write it down in a notebook that I have. And I'll just, like, whenever I hear a beat and I don't have an idea, I'll look through those phrases and see what starts to come out. So yeah, ideas are endless. It's a constant waterfall. It's gathering that together and then making it sound right and putting it out so that it's like, okay, yeah, that's what I meant when I had that idea, or that's what is best used for this. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and that's kind of how it is. Okay.
Sort of to wrap this episode up, are there any more tips that you would give to aspiring artists, creators, and creatives, whether it's music, YouTube, or any other art that they might want to do?
Kind of going back to what I said earlier in terms of like, learn as much as possible. Remember that there are other people out there that know even just a little bit more than you, like just a little bit more than you. I could have made, like, if I've made 5 songs, there's somebody out there who's made 10 songs, and they may know more than me. They may, like, in theory, they've got a little bit more experience, twice as much. So don't be so in your own head to think that you can't learn from others, and enjoy that experience of collaborating if that's what you want to do in music. And I think that it's good to have that kind of support around you, because you start thriving off other people. You start forgetting that you're not in this alone. Like, as much as you are, like I always say it, it's entirely up to you to like your own music, and you should care about it the most. But it doesn't mean you can't work with somebody else and that be beneficial. If there's someone out there who likes creating beats and you only rap, then find that person, work with them. If there's someone who likes mixing podcasts or likes doing themes for podcasts, then if you're starting a podcast, find that person, work with them. Same with making music videos or making a movie. If you're a director and you can't write, find someone who wants to write, work with them, and go from that. Yeah. And I think I've been quite lucky. There's been a lot of people around me that have been really supportive of what I do. Theoretical, he's my DJ. He's been at every live show, making sure that there's a lot going on. There's an independent record label in Oxford called Quick Fix Recordings. They've always supported my music and always pushed it out to people. And without them, I probably wouldn't have reached as many people as I have. So it's great that they're on board with what Half Decent is, and it really fits everything that they do as well, which is great. And it's there. You meet people and they're creatives for life, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but you enjoy that and you get around that. So I'd say just kind of get out of your own head sometimes, and don't be afraid to go, someone else has done this, how do they do it? And just see. You don't even need to do anything off it. Just have a look, see what it looks like.
Exactly. Yeah, just sort of, go out with a belief in yourself, and don't be afraid to get out there and start creating whatever it is that you're passionate about, and just go from there, create that momentum, and with that momentum you'll be able to make the next step and make something better than the next time around. And
definitely the last bit of advice is just don't stop.
Absolutely.
Never give up. Always do it. Just always do. Don't think, just do. Like, you can learn, and you can learn from your own mistakes if you need to, but just do it. Doing it is better than not. Always.
Absolutely. I couldn't
Unless
agree
it's
more.
Illegal or something. Don't want to advise, like, maybe take away the always, but doing is better than not.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Thank you for this show. Thank you for coming on to this show, and thank you everybody for listening. People that want to listen to your music and find out more about you, they can find you on YouTube, Half Decent on YouTube, Spotify.
Just
Instagram.
Half Decent Music everywhere, and then halfdecentmusic.com as well.
Make sure you guys check out his latest single, Bill Murray, and be on the lookout for his album Groundhog Day coming out in August.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for coming on to the
Simon.
show.
Cheers.
No worries. Take care, guys. Bye. Thank you for listening to Bearded Discussion Podcast. If you like the show, subscribe and follow your host Simon Binkowski on YouTube and Instagram. Share it with your friends and tune in next week. See ya.